In this video tutorial, we will review the changes in settings in version 9 of eClinicalWorks for providers only. Note that the clinical support staff will have different settings. To access your individual settings, please go to the top left-hand corner of the eClinicalWorks software and select File. This will open a menu. Please scroll down and mouse over the area called Settings. This will display another menu. Please go to that menu, mouse over My Settings, and click to select. This will open a box of all the settings for you individually. Please note that these settings cannot be made for the entire practice. The settings box is laid out as follows. There are rows and there are individual tabs. Note that the first row is closest to the screen. The second row is somewhat further, and the third row is furthest away. When selecting each individual tab in the first row, this will remain most closest to the screen. However, when selecting any of the tabs in row 2, all of the tabs in row 2 will be moved closer to the screen. This is true for row 3. Let's go now back to row 1 and review those settings. I will provide a brief review of the settings of each tab so that you may change the settings, sign out of eCW software, and sign back into eCW software so that your settings take effect. At that point, you may move on with your day and see your patients. In a subsequent video, I will go over each of these settings in more detail. For the first tab, My Providers, your facility should automatically be populated. If it is not, you may select it by clicking on the ellipsis and choosing your facility. If you are interested in placing another provider's name in the left chart panel so that you may more easily access their schedule, you may do so by selecting your facility first, then selecting that provider's name and adding them to your provider list. In the tab User Settings, I will go through these briefly as they are quite detailed. The first one is grayed out and cannot be changed. The second one should be dropped down. Note that clinical support staff will be using the pick list. The next several ones should be No, No, All, Yes, grayed out as Yes, and checked. This should be unchecked. If you have up-to-date software via the internet and would like to have this added to your eCW experience, please contact me. The next section should be 0, Top, Yes, Yes, No, No, Default, Office Visits, Overview, and No. The Physician's Reference tab we are not currently using. The Views tab, the top will be selected automatically for you. The remainder of these should be in the Modern View. None should be in the Classic View. There are new items in version 9 at the bottom. In order to fully utilize version 9's options, you should check each of these boxes. The Quick Launch buttons below should and will automatically be selected. Under the Show Hide tab, all should be placed as Show with the exception of the following: discontinued drugs, display insurance group, invalid CPT codes, examination tree categories, CPT copyright pop-up, custom dosages, and prescription edit screen. Pediatricians may choose to leave the examination tree category as Show. I will explain this later. You will then need to choose 5 of the displays for the right chart panel below. Please note that you can only select up to 5 tabs. They should be Overview, History, CDSS, Labs and Diagnostics, and Template. If you have these 2 selected and try to change, you will get an error stating that you cannot change them. You should then unclick a few and then select these 3 that I have above. Moving to row 2. Under Defaults, you should have General, 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 Standard, Bulleted, Topaz. 0, Patient Specific, 0, Cache, Blank, Patient Unreviewed, Collection Date, Regular XSL, Collection Date. Default 2 tab, Modern, Moderate, and Unaided Acuities. My Resource tab. If you are at a facility and would like quicker access to some resources at your site, choose your facility and then decide which of the resource schedules you would like to have access to. If you'd like to quickly look at the intake nurse schedule, the lab schedule, and the nurse schedule, you may select those by checking the boxes and then add those to your list. This will not add these to your regular schedule, but will be easily accessible with one click. Under the Warnings tab, All should be clicked. We are not using the eClinical mobile services at this time. In the 3rd row, we are also not using the eClinical Works provider-to-provider network at this time. One item remains, and that is to configure your assigned favorites. Assigned favorites are occasionally things that you need to forward items to, such as referrals and abnormal PAPs. So if you are at a facility, you may choose those that pertain to your facility, such as Abnormal PAP, Southlake, Referrals Coordinator, Southlake, or other choices in between. Save those, and then you can exit that box at that point. From here, you should then hit OK to accept your settings. You will then be prompted by eCW to log out and log back in for your changes to take effect.